I get a lot of questions from other duck hunters out there about what I do with all the waterfowl I harvest. Now, for many people that shoot puddle ducks like me, you're going to want to cook them with the skin on or even roast them whole. Now, while that's a great way to prepare all different sorts of ducks, I find that I need to find a different way to process them just due to the pure volume of birds that I shoot over the course of a season. If you're shooting a dozen ducks or somewhere around 20 birds over the course of the season, yeah, you can roast them whole, you can cook them with the skin on, and you'll have plenty of meals for yourself and your family. But when you're harvesting to the hundreds of birds like I do often, you need to figure out a better way to use all of that duck meat when the season is over. So today I'm going to show you how I made these duck snack sticks, pepperoni with mozzarella and jalapeno. So I'm doing my snack stick and sausage prep work here. These are vacuum sealed duck breasts that have already been brined from last hunting season. These are from December. And I'm going through, I just let them defrost a little bit so they're still firm. And I'm just going through and I slice them just to do any kind of inspections for any kind of weird looking meat or any kind of pellets that I missed. And then as I'm doing that, I'm weighing them here in a bowl. You can see this is all the clean pieces of duck breast that I'm going through. And I'll show you what I do in the next step. So this is how I usually set everything up. We have all of my pork butt and pork belly cubed up and ready to go into the grinder, and all of my sliced up duck breast ready to go in. These are two big tubs, over 10 pounds each, of the duck breast and the pork butt. And then we're just gonna run them through the grinder here, which I've had this in my freezer to chill everything down. And then we'll take it, mix it 50-50. So I have my scale to weigh everything. And then this is step number 1. And here is 5 pounds of duck breast and pork butt mixed 50-50, coarse ground through. And I like to store it like this in the coarse grind. I'll vacuum seal and freeze this prepackaged at a set 5 pounds for making 5-pound batches. And then I can just defrost this, mix in my seasoning, run it through the fine plate of the grinder, and then be ready to go to make my snack sticks. So there's a lot of different seasonings out there, and you could come up with your own. You could buy seasonings off the rack. I order a lot of my seasonings from Walton's. They have a bunch of different flavor profiles that you could use. For today, I'm going a little more traditional. I'm using the High Mountain seasoning. This one is sweet and spicy, which I've used before, and I know myself and a lot of my friends like it. But again, you could make everything your own. So today I'm putting a little bit of the 16 mesh coarse black pepper. I use this a lot when I make brisket and smoked barbecue, and it gives you just a little bit more, spice to that mix. In addition, I'm using some binders in there, some protein concentrate to help emulsify the meat together better, and as well as all the proper cures and everything that you're going into smoked meats. You can use encapsulated citric acid, which gives it a little bit of a tang, almost like a Slim Jim style. Or in this situation, I'm not going to use that, so I'm using a smoked meat stabilizer. And what this allows me to do is I can mix all this together, put it in my casings, and put it right on the smoker. If you don't use any of that, you need to let this sit overnight in your fridge for that cure to work on the meat. But by using either encapsulated citric acid or a smoked meat stabilizer, you can skip that step. So I've run this through my grinder once on the coarse grind plate, and what I'm going to do is mix in my seasoning and then run it through again on the finer mesh plate, and then mix everything together. And again, we're just going to put it in here before we do that fine ground, because it'll just really help incorporate all of this in there. And again, we just want to get this stuff coated before we grind it the second time, because it's going to help really incorporate the seasoning through all the meat. So now I've put all my seasoning, and I like to mix the seasoning in when it's still coarse ground. So when I grind it through the fine plate, it'll mix that seasoning even more. So now we're going to run all this through the grinder, through my fine plate, and then we'll get to stuffing. So now here it is coming out the fine end. You can see it's still very frozen, which is exactly what we want. But this is helping mix all that seasoning in there. And it also helps to blend the duck with the pork and the pork belly. All right, so now we've done our second grind, and as you can see here, you have a really nice texture now. Everything is blended. You can see the little bits of fat mixed in there, which is what you want. You know, waterfowl is so lean, you need to have that fat mixed in. And whether you use beef fat or pork fat, you know, you need to have at least a little bit of a fat content in there just for the right kind of taste and the right kind of mouthfeel. So now we've mixed all our seasoning in with here, so we just need to add some water and then mix it together. I don't have a manual or an automatic meat mixer because I'm doing usually these smaller batches of 5 pounds. So I'm just going to mix it by hand. So what I have here is about 3/4 of a cup of cold water. I'm just going to pour this in and then start mixing by hand. And again, you can add, you know, this might need a little bit more liquid. You could see it's very pebbly. That's because it's still partially frozen. And that's what makes keeping everything as cold as possible so important. You know, when you're dealing with this meat like this, it's really important to keep everything cold, especially with wild game. So what you're just trying to get to do here with the water and the seasoning and the meat is mixing it, is you want it to emulsify together. So you're looking for it to really start to turn into almost a paste, and this helps the meat bind to itself when you put it into the casing. And the way you know it's good is you can see it really sticking together, but it'll actually stick to your hand, which this has not done yet. So now I have my vertical sausage stuffer. So this is going to help us stuff these casings with our meat that we have just ground up, and it was all mixed. This has been sitting in the refrigerator while I cleaned everything else up and got it all ready to go. You want to use a thinner tube like this for the smaller snack stick casings. I'm using 16mm smoked collagen casings. These come out similar in size to like an actual Slim Jim from like 7-Eleven or Wawa or Quick Check. And I'll show you how you do this. We load all of our meat into the stuffer, and then we get to stuffing. I have my smoked collagen casings now on the stuffing horn, and we'll just get to work stuffing these snack sticks. So it's all kind of about feel. You want these to be nice and plump and full as it comes off the stuffing horn, and you'll kind of get a feel for it as you go. There's a lot of different ways to stuff the casings like this. You can use almost like the jerky gun, caulk gun style ones, which I've used, but it just takes a long time if you're trying to do like a 5-pound batch. So that's why I invested in one of these hand crankers. And you can just kind of start twisting it around. So now that you've cased everything, again, these are 16mm casings. Here is 5 pounds of cased snack sticks ready to go on the smoker. Here's another batch that I have going for you today. This is 4.5 pounds of pepperoni sticks with high temp mozzarella cheese, and then 5 pounds of Willie's snack stick, which is kind of just a general good snack stick flavor, with some jalapeno flakes mixed in. So I have my Camp Chef Woodwind Pro pellet smoker here, and I'm running some chunks of hickory and pecan wood to get some smoke on these sticks. So now we'll put them on the pellet grill and start cooking them off. I like the size, how long that I make each strand based on how large my smoker is. So this is a 24-inch smoke box, so I usually do about 2 feet, and then they all fit really easily here on the grates. So I have 3 different levels of the sticks. I have about 10 pounds fit on here easily. Nice thing about this Camp Chef is it has 4 different probes built in. So I have a temperature probe on each level. Now we'll just let it go and let them smoke. So these have been smoking for about 3.5 hours now. You want to cook them to an internal temperature of 165 degrees because we're dealing with wild game. A lot of snack stick recipes you'll see out there that use venison or beef or pork will tell you to stop at 150, 155. If you're using wild game like this, like the duck we're using, you really want to go to 165 just to be safe. So what we're going to do is we're going to check everything with my Thermapen instant read thermometer, double check that it's hit the right temperature, pull everything off, put it in an ice bath inside to stop the cooking process, and then we could start enjoying our snack sticks. Check my temperature again. You want these with the wild game, you want it to be 165 degrees internal. These are right about there. So I'm going to pull this top level off. We got my top level snack sticks off. You can see how nice they picked up some of the color. These are the pepperoni and cheese ones. They're a little bit lighter than the jalapeno ones, but real nice smoke color on them. And now I'll go inside and get these in an ice bath. So we just brought these in off the smoker. They hit temperature, but the first thing you want to do is get them in an ice bath to stop the cooking process. This will also help set the casings on there, but you just want to stop that cooking process. So now that they've come out of the ice bath, I have cut them at their bends, dried them off a second time, and I have them here in little bins on drying racks where they can bloom at room temperature for a couple hours, or even some people do a few days, just to let all those flavors come together. You can really see the color difference here. This is the Willy snack stick with the jalapeno in it, and this is the pepperoni with the high temperature mozzarella cheese. Again, they came out fantastic. You could just see here, here's some of the pepperoni with the cheese in there. Here's some of the Willys with the jalapeno. They really taste great. And once these get done drying out, I'll cut them a length like this, vacuum seal them, and they'll be ready to go in the blind bag for this season. So now you have plenty of vacuum sealed snack sticks in 2 different flavors, ready to be brought out on any future hunts this season, fishing trips, or anything else you want. Stay nice, packaged up like this. You could throw them in the freezer or bring them on any hunts with you or anything else. Just another way to use the birds that you've harvested over the course of the season, put them to good use.